Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1612.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. I'm revved up and very excited to share with you today a returning guest here on Cars Yeah. He's calling in from Holly Hills, Florida. Well, I bet it's a little bit warm today. His name is Tim Sutter. Tim, welcome to Cars Yeah. Are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
I sure am. I've just got a lap belt on and not a full harness.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try to keep it on the road here. I'll remind our listeners here, Tim was guest number 12. He was kind enough to be one of the very first people who took a chance with me when I first started this endeavor way back in June of 2014. I didn't ask you this then, but I'm going to ask you this now before I do a proper introduction. Share with us one little thing that most people don't know about Tim Suddard.
Well, I'm a cat person.
A cat person. Okay.
I have two cats we rescued that probably a little weirdly obsessed with. I love my cats. And, I always kind of laughed at young people. They just get married and they don't have kids yet, so they're kind of obsessed with their pets. Well, now Margie and I are empty nesters, and I think we've kind of resorted back to that we're all about our two cats.
I understand. Yeah, I've become an empty nester since we last had you on this show. And it's a little weird when you walk down the hallway and the kids' bedrooms are empty. I always have almost a little bit of a tear in my eye. My wife decided to retire from her career when we raised our kids. And now she's gone back to teaching and working at a school with little kids. I think she's fulfilling that empty part of her life, and she's really enjoying it. So very good. Well, before we jump into my questions here, Tim, I want to make a proper introduction. Tim Suddard is the publisher of Grassroots Motorsports, a magazine geared towards regular people who enjoy fixing up and playing with common, readily available sports cars. His success led to the formation of a second publication, Classic Motorsports, which has become America's largest publication catering to classic sports cars enthusiasts. Tim grew his ventures into another event of business that includes the Ultimate Track Car Challenge, Classic Sports Car Tours, a Monterey Welcome Party, and the $2,000 Challenge series of low-cost events that have been run for the last 15 years. Tim maintains, rallies, and races a collection of more than 20 eclectic, mostly British sports cars and has restored over 50 cars since the young age of 14. I've subscribed to his publications for years. They're really fun, really well done, and I love the way the graphics are done for us old guys that have a little challenge with our eyes. Your type's a little bigger, your pages are spread out. They're really a joy to look at. We'll be back in a minute to talk to Tim, but first a word from our valued sponsors that make this show possible. So sit tight, keep your seatbelt on, and we'll be right back. Did you know the most damaging thing to your vehicle's interior is the sun? Those harsh UV rays damage your interior over time. They crack your dash, they fade the colors, and the heat makes getting into your favorite ride downright unbearable. My friends at Covercraft have the perfect solution for you. Their sunscreens are easy to use, they take seconds to install and remove, and protect your vehicle while parked in the sun. They fold up easily and store away for those times you don't want to use your car cover. I have one for every one of my vehicles, and you should too. They come in a variety of colors and options, featuring an accordion design that makes unfolding and folding them a breeze. Want to give a gift that keeps on giving? Buy a Covercraft sunscreen for your family members and friends. They'll thank you for it every time they park their vehicle. They're custom made to fit almost any vehicle. Check out covercraft.com for a huge number of styles, colors, and options. And here's something special from me here at Cars Yeah, just for you. Use the code YEAH120 at checkout at covercraft.com and you'll get 10% off your Covercraft order. Go to covercraft.com and use the code YEAH120 at checkout and you get 10% off. You can thank me later. Covercraft, they've got you covered. Hey, Mark Green here. I want to invite you to a virtual wine tasting event that I'm hosting on Thursday, August 6th at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. You've heard me talk about Adobe Road Winery's The Racing Series here on Cars Yeah. Well, I've invited some of my fellow automotive enthusiasts and past Cars Yeah guests to this very special exclusive event, and I'm inviting you too. McKeel Haggerty and Wayne Carini will be there to share their love of classic cars. Racer Lynn St. James provides her insights on racing during these crazy pandemic times and the challenges of choosing a best of show from Jeff Love and David Lillywhite, editors of Magneto. They'll be talking about their virtual concours. When you purchase 2 bottles of the Racing Series, you'll get a private invitation to this exclusive Zoom event that centers at Adobe Road Winery, where vintner and endurance racer Kevin Buckler and his winemaker Garrett Martin will share the secrets to their unique Racing Series wines. Having enjoyed these delicious blends, I promise you, you will love the Racing Series. Your purchase of 2 bottles from the Racing Series gets you in the virtual door. Use the code UNICEF, UNICEF, all one word in all caps when you check out, and you'll get 10% off your purchase of any wine from the Racing Series. And Adobe Road will be giving 10% of this event's sales to UNICEF. Just go to adoberoadwines.com and you'll see where to sign up. The wine ships promptly and it arrives quickly. There's always a seat at the table for excellence with the Racing Series. Go to adoberoadwines.com today and use the code UNICEF when you check out for a very fast and fun evening with me and these wonderful guests. Thursday, August 6th at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Cheers! I found a new way to protect my vehicle. American Collectors Insurance. That's who now protects my Porsche Turbo, the one I call my Orange Crush. But did you know they also insure your valuable collectibles of automobilia and automotive collectibles? If you're like me, you've invested in a lot of cool automotive collectibles over the years. Those items are valuable, and if you were to lose them in a theft or a fire, well, try to get your normal homeowner's insurance to pay you what they're worth. Good luck with that. American Collectors Insurance provides you with assurance and confidence that your collectibles are fully covered. American Collectors Insurance have been protecting us automotive enthusiasts since 1976. They provided me with an agreed value insurance policy backed by a history of taking care of their clients. Give them a call today for a quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. And protect the ones you love. I did. American Collectors Insurance. Classic car and collectible insurance designed by collectors for collectors, just like you and me. All right, Tim, we are back. And as we continue on this journey of your life, I'd love for you to share a success quote or a mantra, some kind of saying that has a meaning for you, maybe something that's helped you get along all these years with all your successes. It's a nice way to get the inspirational tires smoking a little bit here on Cars Yeah. So, Tim, grab the wheel.
Well, I think that the biggest, it's not real sexy, but never give up. I mean, that's been my mantra. This made no sense early on. I mean, I'd walk into a 7-Eleven and say, see the person behind the counter and go, damn, it must be nice to have a real job, a real paycheck, maybe even some benefits. And that wasn't my life. And for a long time, I mean, my family said, you need to give this up. This is never going to work. And it's worked out pretty well.
Well, it's been a huge amount of work. I've known you, I was thinking this morning here, I think I've known you for maybe like 15, 20 years or something like that, because way back when I was running Griot's Garage and you would come and visit us and talk about what you were doing and this magazine idea, I saw and know how hard you worked. And, that's all it takes, right? A whole lot of hard work and effort. You're one of the most persistent guys I've ever met. And I think that mantra for me comes from your time at the track. I've interviewed over 300 race car drivers now, and every one of them uses that quote, never, ever give up. So I'm going to talk about a challenge here in a minute, but first I want you to talk a little bit more about the success you've achieved and all the fun things you're doing. What gets you excited and fired up every morning when you get out of bed and you think about what you're doing with your career?
Well, I still love pretty much every aspect of it. I mean, my son is starting to take over the company, so I don't have quite the pressure on me that I have had. We've certainly developed a heck of a staff that runs a lot of stuff. I still tend to micromanage a little bit, but our latest new project has been developed. I think any media company today needs to develop a video department. and we've successfully done that. I brought my son's brother-in-law into the company, so we've ruined one family. Now we're starting to the second one. His wife's now working with us too. So I got brother and sister from another family in our company, and my daughter and my niece are in a company too. So it's staff meetings are weird. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you about that because this nepotism thing sometimes is a bit of a challenge for a lot of different people. One of the things it's a bit of a challenge for is staff that's not family, because there's this delicate rope you walk. Oh, I better not say anything about that guy because he's his son or she's her. How do you balance that? I'm really curious because I've seen it really destroy companies and cause huge problems.
Well, my son and probably the rest of the staff would say I don't do that great a job with it. But, I mean, it's challenging. I mean, we brought these two newest employees in just before this whole COVID thing hit. And my first thought was, oh, my God, I'm going to have to how do you fire a family?
Well, that's a big
and
issue.
If you fire them, you're probably still going to have to support them to some extent. So fortunately, things have gone well enough that we haven't had to let anybody go during all this. Yeah, it's, I think respect is the most important thing. Again, I'm probably not the best guy to ask. At least they would tell you.
Yeah, maybe I should have the rest of them on to give their impressions and so forth. But no, yeah, this show's about you, though. Well, let's talk a little bit about the publications, because Grassroots Motorsports and Classic Motorsports, I mentioned early on, I've been reading them for years and years and years, and I'm a creative guy, graphics guy, and one of the things I noticed that you did early on is you made them much more interesting, or I should say easy. They're interesting already, but easy for me to read, because so many magazines today have gone to kind of getting kind of weird and they're hard to read. They're, just from a graphic standpoint, was that a deliberate effort on your part, or is that something just evolved?
I would say it's a lifelong battle with younger art directors, and every couple of years this crops up, and the fight is, well, don't make the stories so long if you don't want it in small type. And it's maddening to put words over gray or pictures or something like that. Since I was about 40, I started needing reading glasses. I'm 60 now. And it's like, listen, you can't design and do for yourself. You have to do for the audience you're serving. And, we've got younger readers, but especially with Classic Motorsports, it's guys our age.
Right.
The letters come still, hey, the type's getting smaller, and I go yell at the art director,
Yeah, or you got to go to a number 2 reading glass. That one doesn't work anymore. Yeah, sadly, that's what happens. Let's talk a little bit about this video approach that you're taking, which of course is where the world is going. So how are you migrating, and what are you doing with Grassroots Motorsports, Classic Motorsports, as you've evolved into video? What's the video all about?
Well, I think the only constant is change. And certainly in our world, we've gone through desktop publishing. We've gotten through 9/11. We've gotten through wars. We've gotten through all kinds of changes in technology. There's no such thing as a magazine company anymore. Those companies are dead. A media company can use a magazine as its kind of premier product, and that's what we've done. Mm-hmm. But it's the websites, it's the video, and that's something we've always done video, but we've made an earnest effort and hired a full-time videographer. Last week, we just did a comparison test with a TR6 and an Alpha Spider, which was a lot of fun. And right now with COVID, we're using basically the cars out of my garage because it's kind of hard to, go places and get with people and put people together to, it's not real smart to do that right now. So we're basically working through my garage. We're going to do Sunbeam Tiger versus Shelby Mustang next, which should be fun.
Yeah.
Then we've got early GTI and a 3 Series, both 1.8, 318 IS, so both 1.8 liter cars from the 80s. We're going to do that comparison test. So these have been fun, but we do a lot of other stuff. We are doing our Ultimate Track Car Challenge this weekend, so we'll have video coming from that. And we're dropping 2, 3, 4 videos a week and building up an audience for that. And it's interesting. Our world has changed. It used to be you just did a magazine story, and then you did a magazine story, and after it came off the newsstand, you'd put it on the web. Now, the right way to look at a publishing company or a media company today is you find the story and then decide what the medium is to best tell that story. We just had an editorial meeting this morning, and we're talking about our welcome party that we're doing virtually this year because we can't go to Monterey Car Week. And
right.
we discussed, well, should we do a video of the results and how it turned out? And the decision was, well, video is not the best medium to tell a story with just picture, just not video, but actually just pictures that people have posted. So we said, all right, that's not the right medium for that story, but it's timely. So a web story the next day would best tell that story. So we kind of rethink the whole way we do things, and we have weekly editorial meetings and kind of just decide what's the best way to tell the story.
It sounds like you've evolved nicely. One of the things that I've heard from magazine-specific publishers is getting that audience to migrate, especially us old guys. Now, I've embraced technology since I've been podcasting. I love it. I use it. I do it. But a lot of my friends just go, I can't just read a magazine online. It doesn't do anything for me. I got to have those pages and so forth. But video seems to be very different for people. They really love it. Yeah, and they really like it. And I like the fact that, you've always catered to, I won't say the non-wealthy guy, because you have plenty of readers that have wealth and cars and so forth, but you have always catered to the honest guy, I should say, the at-home guy, the guy that wants to just go have some fun but doesn't have a big giant checkbook to be driving Ferraris or supercars. Was that something that from the beginning you set out to focus on, or did that evolve as well?
Well, I'm a cheap swamp Yankee at heart, and that was the way I was raised. And it's not about rich or poor. It's just kind of an approach. We don't walk in and overpay for things and then brag that we've overpaid. That's just not our lifestyle. It's not our business model. We basically, we try to look at things with some common sense and either do stuff ourselves, or the market is changing, and people are, if you want a Shelby Mustang right now, they're fully valued. I don't know if you saw that Mecum auction, but they're really fully valued as of last week.
Yes. Yeah.
The deals are just not there on those cars. So, I bought an 83 Rabbit GTI with a Callaway turbo kit last year. They're quickly going up because there's people, the younger people are more interested in that kind of car. So, I think being ahead of the curve is kind of part of it.
My point was, I've raced vintage cars for 12 years. It was very expensive. And I would try everything I could do to make tires last a little bit longer, engines last a little bit longer, and so forth. But I love your approach because you're giving everybody the opportunity and the ideas of how to do it. Young, old, whatever your budget is, whatever you want, even if you're rich. Rich people don't like to waste money. I know that.
That's how I got rich.
That's not how you get rich. Yeah. So I think it's great what you're up to. And I encourage our followers to follow. Now, your YouTube page, is it titled under Grassroots Motorsports?
Yeah, we've got one for each magazine, classicmotorsports.com and then Grassroots Motorsports.
There you go. Awesome. It's great. I always ask my guests this question, to share a big challenge, even a big failure along the way, or it could be something going on now, or it could relate to the pandemic. It doesn't really matter what it is, but I want you to take us down that path. But more importantly, how have you learned from that to overcome it, to come out positive on the other side? So take us on a little trip here, Tim.
I'd answer that question, but I want to get back to what you said a minute ago. You said about the mediums competing against each other. And initially, that was my fear, that if you give stuff away on the website, you won't be able to sell magazines. That's not the way the world works. Everybody has their chosen media. Trying to sell a magazine subscription to a 20-year-old kid is damn near impossible.
Yeah.
They love video and they love social media. So, and I'm not saying all ages love that stuff, but yeah. So we're not worrying about the media competing against each other. We're just posting stuff, and different groups will get the content the way they want to get it. Unfortunately, that makes the business yes, the market's grown because of that, but boy, it used to be just put some stories and some ad squares in a magazine and put it to bed every month. And
right. Yeah.
was gone. So
sure. Well, it's the same with the catalog business that I was in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's evolved now. And then you got this competition from this big guy up the road from me named Jeff Bezos, you know, I was fighting against 10, 15 years ago before he became the monster giant. So you're right. You've got to evolve. You've got to change. And I would assume that has something to do with that challenge question I just asked you, is you're forced to evolve.
Yeah, well, it's figuring that out. We've gone to some conferences that have helped. We've studied it, and I brought, my son is he sees things through a 27-year-old's eyes, and you could say we don't always agree on things, but he's quick to tell you more often than not he's right. And
yeah, I've got one of those 26-year-olds in not in my house, but yeah, my family. They do see things differently, don't they?
Yeah,
which is good. It's fresh.
They're great if the VCR breaks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, a car project I'm working on is proven to be quite a challenge. I picked up a '62 Elva sports racer.
Ooh.
It's a Elva Mark VI.
Yeah.
They've made real common car. They made 28 of them.
I'm familiar with it, though. I raced against some of those guys.
This thing was up in a guy's rafters, and it was badly beaten. It was missing some stuff. And he tells me it'd been sitting up there. He was a customer, and I'd seen it a couple times. And I finally said, "Hey, what are you going to do with that thing?" And he finally said, "You know what? Just take the damn thing." I gave him a little bit. I traded him something for it, but very low money. And he said, "Listen, this thing's got no history. It's just some club race car up in the upper Midwest. That's all I know about it. It's been sitting up there in my rafters for 30 years.
Wow.
So I take it home and I find the serial number on the dash, and I got a hold of the Elva registry, and they said, "Wow, you found the factory Sebring car from '62."
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Turns out it ran there. It ran the Grand Prix to Puerto Rico, which was a one-year-only event. Then it ran the Mosport 200, the Road America 500. So this was a factory car, faced all the international races in the Western Hemisphere that year. So then the challenge was to try to restore it accurately. I finally, through the Revs Institute, found some photos of it running at Sebring. And but it's been challenging. It's a Coventry Climax engine, which is in English, but I assumed it was going to be simple like an MG or a Triumph or any of the other little British cars I've done. Not so much. More like Ferrari prices and not MG prices.
Yeah.
I've got the engine just about done, and the transaxle. It's usually a Hewland Mark III gearbox, which is actually in a Volkswagen Beetle case, and they just redid the transaxle. It's a 5-speed in a Volkswagen case, but that's out at a specialist right now, and he's trying to find axles and different parts. It's a simple little car built from unobtainium. The fiberglass body. It was obvious original. I found the markings where the lights had been on at Sebring, and the photos, confirm that's exactly where the lights were to mark to run the numbers, so you could light the numbers at night, that kind of stuff. So I know it's original. I know it's the car, but I mean, I've got hundreds of hours just in fiberglass work, which is itchy. So that's been my COVID challenge as I am at home. I'm working on that more and more.
Well, what an exciting find. That's so cool. I mean, it's so neat when you find something that looks like a nice little stone and you find out it's a gem. And now you got to cut it and polish it and make it right. But I can't wait to see that. Are you planning on racing it?
Yeah, I'm not sure I got the guts to race it, but I mean, I'll run it some, but I think, it'll go to Concord, probably Amelia Island, that kind of stuff. But I'll probably run it a few times at least, but it's a flimsy, spindly little, that's back in the day when drivers were expendable.
Well, it's one of the reasons I stopped racing my Lotus 18. It just, it's just, you don't feel safe ever in those cars. And that car I had a Renault Dauphine gearbox in it, very delicate. The shifter was on the left. The H pattern was backwards. So when you were in third gear, it was real easy to go into second by mistake
and the heat of the battle
and blow the whole thing to smithereens. Yeah, I had a big thing I put on my dash that had the pattern, so I remember it with a big $sign right in the middle of the thing. And try to find a Renault Dauphine gearbox. They're hard to find. What a great find. Well, I can't wait to see that thing completed and finished. We're going to take a short break, thank our sponsors, and we come back, we're going to dive into Tim's personal passion, which is very deep, of cars. So sit tight. We'll be right back. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for enthusiasts and collectors. It's your monthly must-read, whether you dream of owning a collector car, maybe you have two, or maybe you've got 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. And don't miss my weekly podcast with Keith Martin titled Buy, Sell, Hold. It's the essence of collecting. We talk to the movers and shakers in the collector car world. Here's a couple deals I have for you just for listening here on Cars Yeah. If you use the checkout code Cars Yeah, you'll receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription at Sports Car Market. That's an exclusive offer from Cars Yeah. And guess what? Here's another deal. If you'd like to get the actual magazine, use the code BSH for Buy, Sell, Hold. That's code BSH, and you'll get $10 off your annual print subscription. That's right, $10 off. Both of these are exclusive offers here at Cars Yeah for Sports Car Market Magazine. Just go to sportscarmarket.com and get your deals today. Let's take a pit stop from the conversation and talk about my charity of choice here at Cars Yeah, America's Automotive Trust. America's Automotive Trust is a group of like-minded nonprofits working together to preserve and promote car culture across the country. Together, they provide scholarships and grants to aspiring technicians and restoration artists. They provide youth education programs and bring communities together through auto-related events, car shows, and drives. One of those nonprofits is very near and dear to my heart because it's right down the road from the Cars Yeah headquarters. It's the LeMay America's Car Museum in Tacoma, Washington. One of the world's truly great automobile collections and one of those must-see bucket list destinations for car people like you and me. If you haven't seen it, I hope you make a trip soon. And if you have seen it, it's probably time to visit again. To learn more about this fantastic museum, go to www.americascarmuseum.org. And while you're there, you can donate to help them keep their engines running. That's www.americascarmuseum.org. All right, Tim, we're back. Would you share with me a story that instigated this passion that you have for cars? Was there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew you were indeed going to be a car guy?
Well, we all have early memories. You probably can remember your first memory. And for me, it started in late 63. I was just about 4 years old. I remember Kennedy being assassinated. I didn't know what that meant, but there was a lot of hubbub in the house. Everybody was pretty worked up about that. I remember that. I then remember my grandfather passing right around that same time. And then the next memory I have was of April of 1964. And my dad was a Ford dealer, and he said, come on, we all need to pile in the car. We need to go look at the new Mustang. That was a big deal back then, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we went to look at the new Mustang, and at the time I was kind of like, that's just a car. What's the big deal? But if it's not a big deal, then why is that one of the three early memories that I have? So obviously it left some kind of impression on me. I restored several Mustangs. I have two Mustangs now. So I would say that looking at the Mustang probably changed my life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you didn't have the same comments that Ken Miles had when he looked at the first Mustang from the latest movie. I remember his comments. Looks like a secretary's car.
To me, at the time, I just remember it was like, what's the big deal about a car? But then, you know, why did I remember that and not 1,000 other things from that same spring? You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. We went and did the same thing. We went and looked at the new Mustang. Yeah, it's probably one of my earlier memories, that and riding in my dad's MGTC when I was about 5 years old. So definitely remember that.
That was scary enough to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about your first really special car. You've had so many cars. You have so many cars. I know last time we talked, you talked about this affliction of having too many cars in the garage and too many projects. But what was the first car that came into your life that was really, really special for you? Maybe something you saved up for or something that you restored?
Well, my dad's best friend owned a junkyard. And the junkyard was right down the street from the Ford dealership. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was 15, he had a they had like a rebuildable lot, they were selling it on auction, cars that were rebuildable. Okay. And it was a 67 Mustang Fastback there. And a couple cars down was a 57 T-Bird. And I kept going back and forth. I was going to buy one of them. And I finally decided the Mustang was more my style than the 57 T-Bird. So going that way, more towards a sports car, than the classic T-Bird probably, impacted my life too. But so I went home and decided I was going to bid $100, and then decided that I said, you know what, I shouldn't bid $100. I should bid $101. Well, maybe somebody else will bid $100. So I finally, always been a little anal and worked through this for probably more than an hour and decided the right bid was $102.02.
Okay.
And this car at the time was probably worth $300 to $500. Uh-huh. I just knew that it was going to work. And initially, my dad said, no way, there's no way, no way a 15-year-old's going to have a car. You can't have a car. And my mom sat him down and said, you know what, there's worse things a 15-year-old boy can do.
I think so, yeah.
I ended up winning the bid. Now, of course, later on, I found out that as soon as my mom put her foot down, my dad called his buddy that ran the thing and basically said, well, we'll take that car, whatever, I don't know. I paid the $102.02, but there might have been a little bit more money exchanging hands,
Yeah.
But that was my first car. That and that same summer, I restored I worked in my dad's body shop at the Ford dealership and restored a Model A that he had found, mm-hmm. which I still have.
I know, that's amazing. It's incredible.
So those were, I guess, the two real early cars that definitely made my life.
There you go. Well, I didn't ask you this question before. It's a little bit ethereal, kind of get into your skull a little bit here.
Uh-oh.
If you woke up tomorrow, Tim, and you were manifest as a car, not what you want to be, but your personality, your life into a vehicle, what would Tim Suddard be and why?
Yeah, that's a good one. I looked at the question earlier and I was like,
yeah, what is Mark doing to me?
I guess the first car that comes to mind is maybe a Triumph TR6.
I kind of see that, yeah. Why would that be?
A little rough around the edges, good heart. I don't know.
A little bit of British history maybe in the lineage.
A little, just...
Well, I know you've loved British cars for years, and they're fun, and they're great, and enjoyable to drive, and somewhat affordable. So there you go, a Triumph TR6. I think you might be the first one of those on this show. It's getting harder for me to remember all of them with 1,600 guests here on the show, but that sounds like a unique answer to me, and a fair one too, and an honest one. All right.
To come up with something sexier, but...
Well, sometimes people don't listen to the question, not what you want to be. I mean, we all would love to be a little bit sexier, right? But
it's better than a Rambler, right?
Well, probably. Yeah, I think so. All right, we're entering what I call the last lap. I'm going to fire off some questions, have you give us some very quick blips of that TR6 throttle. So here we go. Tim, what's one of your personal habits you think has contributed to your success in your business over the years here?
I would say doggedness, just plodding. Being a CEO is a lot different than being an entrepreneur. And starting something and it's exciting and getting it off the ground. And I tend to gravitate more towards that. I've started the tour business. I've started this event business, the video. So, that's more my nature, but trying to be a CEO, I've got a partner, wife that keeps me on track. But, I've lived in the same house for almost 25 years. I've had the same job for almost 40 years.
Yeah, persistence, tenacity. Well, those are keys to many, many of my successful guests for sure. Here's a great question. If I could wave a magic wand and arrange for you to sit down and have a drink or a meal with anybody in the automotive industry, living or deceased, who would that person be and why?
I've met a lot of people. I've got a lot of friends that I probably shouldn't have, famous or wealthy people. But the one person that... I was at the same track with him several times, but I didn't take the time or wasn't pushy enough. But I would have liked to have met Paul Newman. He seems like he was such a cool guy.
Yes. And, definitely. A true racer too, kind of like Steve McQueen and some Garner, some of these guys that are actors, but they really were car people.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the one person that. And then there's some I met I wish I hadn't, but we won't go there.
No, I'll stay away from that. So when it comes to automotive advice, now this could be collecting, restoring, racing, whatever. What's the best advice someone else offered you that you keep going back to?
Offered me. I'm not sure that who offered this to me, but the best racing advice I would have is I see people, they have money, they decide, we're all trying to recapture our youth, and they get some money and they decide to go vintage racing, and then they want to start with something like a Porsche 917. Well,
yeah,
start with a Bug-Eye Sprite, or maybe a Ford. Well, even a Ford Mustang is a little much for most people, but
yeah,
start slow and work your way up.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure where that came from. I probably didn't invent it. I'm not that clever, but boy, I see people. They just get in way over their head. In a Sprite or something similar, it's real hard to get in over your head.
Yeah, go slow first is what I was told, why a Lotus 18 is something I jumped into, because it really was not that fast of a car. But I see people, yeah, you're right, that had money that would get into Formula 2, Formula 1, Can-Am cars, and just like, those are scary cars, not to mention massively dangerous.
They were scary for the pros that drove them.
Oh, gosh, I don't know how they did it. Those guys were crazy. Now, how about a resource, a go-to for you, something regular that you want to share with our listeners you think they should tap into?
Our forum is forums have faded to some extent. Some have, but ours is still stronger than ever. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much good advice there. There's so much practicality, and we monitor it, but we have such a good group. There's no snarkiness and that kind of stuff. There's very little of that. So that's still certainly a good resource.
Where can people find that?
Either classicmotorsports.com or grassrootsmotorsports.com.
There you go.
I was going to say a resource for me is, I don't think this is available to everybody, but my friendship with Jay Leno has been, boy, there's a guy you want to listen to. If he tells you how to act on camera, listen to him. If he tells you, if that guy wants to give you some life lessons, listen to him. He's been really, and again, I don't understand how I could become friends with him, but it's happened, and he's been really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. A consummate, quintessential car guy for sure.
Yeah.
Is there a book that you've read that you think our listeners would enjoy reading and learn something from?
Yeah, I read a lot of books, a lot of car books. The book that just came out, The History of Imsa, that Mark Raphoff and I don't remember the other author's name, but that's a fantastic book if you want to really learn the history of Imsa. My favorite car book is probably Small Wonder. It's an out of print book about the Volkswagen Bug, and Beetle. It's not about the Beetle. It's really about Germany and how things ended there at the end of World War II and the dividing up of the country. It's really fascinating if you like history. The scam that was the Beetle. Hitler was selling little booklets to you basically pay. And then you'd get one after the war. Of course, nobody got one, but sure. It's just really, really cool history book.
Yes, absolutely. Small Wonder is a great book. And of course, the other book you mentioned, The History of Imsa by Mark Raphoff and Mitch Bishop. Mark's been a guest here on Cars Yeah. You can go back and find him on the Cars Yeah website and learn all about his writing of that book. You'll find all these books and everything Tim has shared with us today on his show notes page. If you want to go back and listen to Tim and I talk back when I was just starting this, you may not want to listen to me. Tim was eloquent. I don't know if I was or not. I was still learning my craft. You can find both his shows on the Cars Yeah website. Just type in Tim Suddard. All right, we're up to the checkered flag here, Tim. I'm curious whether your answer to this question has changed over the last 6 years. I'm going to buy you a very cool collector car today. Anything on the planet, doesn't matter who owns it. I'm going to get it out of their garage and I'm going to park it in your garage. But there are some rules to my game since I'm writing the check. One is you can't sell it to buy back all your old cars with. You've got to keep it. I want it to be a driver, a usable car, but that's no problem for you. You don't believe in garage queens or dust collectors. But here's the hard part, Tim. It's the only one collector car you can have. So it's got to tick all the boxes for you to make you smile every time you walk out in that garage and want to jump into it and drive. So what can I buy you this year?
Well, I don't need much.
You don't need much.
No, just the 289 Cobra, that's all.
Well, it's the same answer. You haven't evolved much, my friend.
My whole life's been dedicated to
that.
It's funny. I probably have enough cars that, if I sold them all and got a second mortgage on I don't even have a mortgage, but if I got a mortgage on the house, I could probably buy one. But it's like, well, I can't sell the first car my dad and I restored. And then I can't sell the last car, the TR6 that my dad and I restored together before he passed. And I certainly can't sell my TR3 race car because I've had that, for 25 years. And my Edsel wagon, no, I would never sell that. And, so it basically goes, okay, I guess I don't get a Cobra.
Well, I have no doubt someday I think you may have one in the garage. Now, I'm not sure if you remember this, but you said 289 Cobra. Do you remember the color you picked?
Probably blue with red interior and gray wire wheels.
You have pretty much stayed the same in your taste over all these years.
I didn't go back and listen to the first show. I figured that was probably a bad idea.
No, I always tell people don't do that, but I did. I went back and checked it out, and that's exactly the way you answered it. So there's some consistency in your life despite the evolutions that you've made in your business, which are certainly wonderful, and it's kept you in the forefront of the career that you've chosen and the businesses you've chosen. We're really proud of where you've come from and what you've done, Tim. This has been a great talk. You've taken us on another great ride today. I knew this would be great. I want to thank you for sharing your amazing journey. Before I let you go, though, before I let you drive off into the sunset in that 289 Cobra, could you offer our listeners maybe one little parting piece of wisdom or guidance when it comes to business or life or whatever you want to share that might encourage somebody out there who maybe is just starting out?
Well, I want to say that when you asked me, I just started this, and I was like, that's a weird idea, but what the heck? I'll help you get started.
I appreciated that.
Good on you for making
1,612. I know well, that doesn't include the Buy, Sell, Hold podcast I do every week with Keith Martin. Yeah. So add another 25 to that.
Yeah. So congratulations. I would say that in anything in life, it's a lot easier to take it apart than it is to put it back together. So go easy, go slow, and I find so many projects that have been taken apart, and then I just bought a '52 Morgan that taken apart and never put back together.
Yeah.
Since 1964. So
wow.
It's I think that probably has more meaning than just cars, but
I think you're right. I think it does. And again, what's the best way or the multiple ways for our listeners to learn more about you and your business?
Well, you have a Classic Motorsports YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. We've got videos coming out every week. Grassroots Motorsports YouTube channel, same there. And then our magazine's available on newsstands, both Grassroots Motorsports and Classic Motorsports, or you can order it through our website. And of course, our website's got multiple stories a day.
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage you listeners, check it out. You're going to love this. If you love anything about motorsports, classic cars, these are the publications to go to. Check out the YouTube pages. I mean, you've come a long way, baby. So again, congratulations to the evolution because that's what life is all about, evolving and changing and improving. And that's definitely what you've done, Tim. Thanks for being so generous today with your time and expertise and for sharing your incredible life experiences with our listeners. Until you and I talk again, or we cross paths on a concours field sometime soon, I hope.
Yeah.
I'll see you down the road.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you're listening to Cars Yeah, you've probably spent some time working on your favorite ride. But how confident are you working on your finances? You may be able to rebuild a fuel injection system, but can you decipher the details of a mutual fund? If you're like me, investments, insurance, annuities, budgeting, and other financial concepts may seem a bit daunting, but what if I told you there's a book that describes these subjects and more in an easy-to-read and a very humorous way? My friend Chris Kimball, CFP, a longtime sponsor and past guest here on Cars Yeah, has written that book, and it's titled The Saga of Ike and Penny, a couple's humorous journey through the confusing world of finance. It's a fun look at things you need to know. Everything from investing to effective ways to get rid of credit card debt, and it's probably the only book on finance with a VMAX on the front cover and a classic Mini Cooper on the back. The book's available at Amazon for just $10, and this book will dramatically improve the direction of your financial future. I gave copies to each of my children. All securities are through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Christopher Kimball Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Get your copy, The Saga of Ike and Penny, today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.